Hey y'all, so my name is Edwin Carlos. I am a freshman at Stanford University and I'm from Renton, Washington. And I've been a part of MYPF for the past 2 years, starting off with focusing on nonviolent communication through my work as a peer mediator in the city of Bellevue. But I have since changed my project to focus more on Filipino American issues due to my membership in the Filipino American community here at Stanford. And being a Filipino American has been an identity that I haven't interacted with very much in my life, and seeing that in high school I didn't get very much exposure to my Filipino American identity, um, being in a place where I could explore that identity and I could explore different aspects of what's going on in the Philippines and what goes on to people of Filipino American descent, all of that interested me to focus on that as a part of my project. And so, in terms of what I've done involving my project the past couple of months or so, I'd say the biggest things have been a couple of workshops and a youth leadership conference that we ran with the Bay Area high schoolers in the area. And so, to talk a little bit more about these workshops, my first workshop that I did was called the Immigration Workshop, and this workshop involved teaching people about the experience of overseas Filipino workers and the way that the government exploits these workers in terms of these workers sending over remittances and their income back to the country so that they could support their family, but then also give that money being used in the government in terms of their own financial gain. I believe that 5% of the remittances that 5% of the GDP that the Philippines accounts for is from these overseas Filipino workers, but only 0.022% of those are actually given back to these workers in terms of support from the government. And so, a lot of ways overseas Filipino workers are exploited by the Philippine government, and I wanted to tell the community about what kinds of things that the government was doing to the overseas Filipino workers. And so, at this event, there were about 40 people that attended. A lot of them from the Philippine American community, from the Vietnamese American community, and from the larger ABI community here at Stanford. And that was held in January, early January of this year. And so, along with that workshop, I also did a workshop at the Youth Leadership Conference that I stated previously. This workshop involved teaching folks about U.S. commercialism and its influence on the Philippines, starting from all the way back to the Spanish-American War and World War II, and leading up to today with a popular Filipino restaurant called Jollibee. And Jollibee has been seen as the quintessential comfort food for a lot of Filipino Americans in other countries. And I wanted to make known what practices that Jollibee takes advantage of, that the Philippines kind of perpetuates, especially involving the education system, in which blue collar jobs and a lot of English speaking is emphasized in order to make people a lot more marketable to have these jobs in other countries, as a way of making them overseas Filipino workers and continuing the exploitation that is happening onto them. And Jollibee is one of these organizations that takes advantage of this system, and I've also emphasized the fact that it's not their fault. In a way, they have to take advantage of these systems in order to be competitive in the market that a lot of these U.S. corporations are a part of. Is because today, these other corporations definitely exploit people a lot more than the Jollibee does. But just to make note of the fact that these exploitation exist, as one thing that I wanted to really show people at this workshop. And so there were about 20 high school students from the Bay Area and 10 other Filipino American students from Stanford that were at this workshop. And this workshop was held on March 4th during our Philippines Youth Leadership Conference, in which overall there was about 60 or 70 high school students who attended, and about 40 to 50 students who helped make the workshop run from our Filipino American Student Union. And so those are kind of the projects that I've been working on the past couple of months. And I think to continue on, I want to really look at doing more workshops with folks and making sure that education is a big aspect of what my project is about. And continuing to educate myself, because I know that there's a lot of things that I still have yet to find out, and a lot of ideas that still have yet to explore. And continuing to work with outside organizations, as there are a wealth of organizations in the area, such as Anak Bayan Silicon Valley, NAFCON, and I can learn and do so much if I were to reach out to these organizations more, and I want to make that a big focus for me moving forward. Some other insights that I have continue to revolve around education. I think a lot of what it means to be an activist, the education part aspect of it is kind of lost sometimes. We are very so gung ho about going up and doing something great, but yet there's a lot of things that we don't exactly know about these issues yet, and we want to make sure that we're as educated as we possibly be, so that we can really be there for people. We can really advocate for these issues, and so I think an overarching name for my project would actually be No History, No Self. And if you think about the no as in knowing things, or no as in the word no, you can see that aspects of being really important in today, and that me being a Filipino American and not knowing about my history until recently is something that people need to recognize as being a part of their own lives. I think the idea of like decolonizing your mind and keeping away that Western perspective that has permeated a lot of immigrants and a lot of countries that have been colonized by these Western countries has been a big aspect of how we go about our lives. And so just to be conscious of that and to know that you have your own history that is separate from what you are told your history is really important. And so I hope that gives you an idea about my project. I hope it inspires you to take on some of these projects for yourself. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm sure my contact information will be here. And thank you.